Hello and welcome to DD India. I'm Akshay Dongre and you're watching our special program Voice of the Global South, a show that brings to you stories, news, achievements and much more from a rising aspirational world. So let us begin with today's episode. With close to 1 billion eligible voters, the world is about to witness its largest ever elections. The Election Commission of India has announced the dates of Indian General Election 2024, which is expected to see a participation of voters bigger than the population of US, European Union and Russia combined. Let's take a look at this report on the upcoming Festival of Democracy in India.
The world is about to witness the largest election ever conducted. India has announced the date for the upcoming general election that will decide the future of the world's largest democracy. The Election Commission of India, while announcing the dates for the elections, highlighted the grand scale of the electoral process. About 1 billion eligible voters will be casting their secret ballot during the election, which is staggered over a period of 75 days.
96.8 crores are the total electors in the country, of which 49.7 crore are male and 47.1 crore are female.
So let us take a look at how grand this 2024 general elections of India is. Roughly about 12.5% of the global population will be casting their vote. 968 million eligible voters, 18 million first-time voters, 197.4 million young voters, 497 million male and 471 million female voters will also cast their vote during this general election. 218,000 centenarian voters, over 1 million polling stations, 15 million polling officials and security staff, and 5.5 million electronic voting machines will be deployed during this election process. The election will span over a period of 3 months, starting in April and ending in June, scattered over 7 phases for the 543 parliamentary constituencies. The first phase of the election begins on the 19th of April, while the second phase is on the 26th of April, the third phase on the 7th of May, the fourth phase on the 13th of May, the fifth phase on the 20th of May, the sixth phase on the 25th of May, and the seventh phase or the last phase will be on the 1st of June. With the announcement of the election dates, political parties in the fray have started canvassing for votes in full throttle. The election pits two-term Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his regional allies against a scattered alliance of about 24 opposition parties. Holding election for the world's largest population and the 7th largest nation by area with a complex geography is a Herculean task for the election body.
Wherever it takes, they will walk an extra mile so that voters don't have to mile. पहाड़ के बर्फ में भी जाएंगे, जंगल में भी जाएंगे, नदी में भी जाएंगे, घोड़े पर भी जाएंगे, काठ के ब्रिज पर भी जाएंगे, हेलीकॉप्टर से भी जाएंगे, हाथी से भी जाएंगे, बर्फ में भी चलेंगे, म्यूल से भी जाएंगे. सिर्फ हर जगह पहुंचेंगे इसलिए ताकि वोटर अपना वोट दे सकें.
The Festival of Democracy has not just enthused political leaders but also the common electorate, with the flavors of elections spilling over to the lives of the common Indians. The scale and grandeur of this election can be comprehended from the fact that the number of voters in the upcoming election will be more than the populations of the United States, the European Union, and Russia combined. The successful conduction and completion of the election is likely to become a textbook example for many younger democracies of the global south.
Did you know that gunmen in Nigeria have kidnapped at least 87 people in a new attack? This is coming a week after an armed gang seized 286 students and staff from a school. The recent kidnappings have once again brought international focus to the resurgence of mass kidnappings in Nigeria that has devastated families and has impacted over 10 million children in the country.
51-year-old Esther Joseph says she went almost mad when her 13-year-old daughter Precious Sim was kidnapped with other students from her high school in northern Nigeria in July 2021. A petty trader by profession, Esther had to sell several of her possessions to secure her daughter's release.
I was too traumatized. So people were helping me to organize things, but I know that I sold some of my properties. I sold my pots, my fans, and my television. So many things I had to sold. Sometimes she jerks up in her sleep and runs to hold me. She's scared of the light bulb. The fear seems to be reducing a little, but she gets agitated at any loud sound. If I shout at her, she gets scared. And it is because of the experience in the bush, like how they're shooting or treating them. She's still scared.
Maybe they spray in the bush.
Like Sim, who is 15 years old now, there are many who are still living under the shadow of trauma. In northern Nigeria's rural Kaduna, Jimmy, a shopkeeper, was kidnapped in 2022. Jimmy spent 2 months in captivity and was only released after his family sold his belongings to afford the hefty ransom.
My uncle begged them and they reduced it to 4 million naira and further reduced it to 3 million. They had to sell my properties. I had 4 engines, but they sold 3 and used the money for my ransom. I was in the kidnappers' camp for 2 months before I was released.
Nigeria, the most populous state of Africa, is battling a dual crisis. On one hand, it's grappling with one of the worst economic crises in years. On the other hand, a massive surge in kidnappings has terrorized its people. In the most recent attack, gunmen have kidnapped at least 87 people, including women and children in Kaduna. This is barely weeks after an armed gang seized 286 students and staff from a school in early March. Since Tinubu was elected president of Nigeria in May last year, the nation has witnessed over 4,500 cases of kidnappings, many of whom are women and children. The scale of human travesty in Nigeria is such that more than 10.5 million children have been forced out of schools, becoming the highest such case in the world. Not just this, over 700 schools have shut down. The UN has identified factors including kidnappings, insecurity, and a long-running insurgency in the northeast as the main cause, which has also caused a far-reaching sociological impact in the country.
In any area where these abductions take place, parents withdraw their children from school. And especially it affects the girls more than the boys. Many girls have been withdrawn and married off at a very, very small age. And as a result, they are completely missing out on education.
The first such kidnappings in Nigeria were first carried out by jihadist group Boko Haram in 2014. But the tactic has now been adopted by other criminal gangs, and while the Nigerian government has failed to rein in on the kidnapping syndicates, it has banned people from paying ransoms, punishing it with a jail term of at least 15 years, leaving the people even more helpless.
Pak and Afghan border is on the boil once again after an airstrike by Pakistan killed civilians in Afghanistan, prompting retaliation by Afghan forces under the Taliban regime, making the Afghan-Pak border one of the most dangerous places in the world at this time.
Tensions at the restive Afghan-Pakistan border is on the boil once again. The latest flare-up between the two neighbouring countries was an airstrike by Pakistan in Afghan territory on the 18th of March, killing 5 women and 3 children. Just 2 days ahead of the airstrikes, a vehicle laden with explosives and several suicide bombers detonated at a military post near the Afghan border, killing 7 Pakistani security force members. After the airstrikes, Pakistan announced that it carried out an intelligence-based anti-terrorist operations. However, Talibani spokesperson Zabiullah Mujahid in a statement has firmly denied the acquisitions by Pakistan. The Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan does not allow anyone to compromise security by using Afghan territory. Pakistan should not blame Afghanistan for the lack of control, incompetence, and problems in its own territory. Rift between Afghanistan and Pakistan escalated after Taliban takeover, with both accusing each other of sheltering terror outfits and carry out cross-border terror attacks. After the recent flare-up, Pakistan's newly elected President Asif Ali Zardari, who sworn in on Sunday, announced that the death of Pakistani soldiers will be avenged.
ये वादा करता हूँ कि ये मेरे बेटों का खून रागा नहीं जाएगा और हम इस खून का खराज लेंगे, इनसे सबसे खराज लेंगे। पाकिस्तान ने यह तय कर लिया है कि जो भी हमारे सरहदों पे या हमारे घर में आके या हमारे मुल्क में आके जो भी टेररिज्म करेगा, हम उसका मुंह तोड़ जवाब देंगे, चाहे वो कोई भी हो, किस मुल्क से भी हो। इंशाअल्लाह ताला पाकिस्तान की अवाम, पाकिस्तान की फ़ौज, हम सब एक साथ हैं और इनका हम सब मुकाबला करेंगे।
However, tensions seem to be escalating at a rapid pace as soon after the airstrikes, the Afghan Defense Ministry claimed to have fired across the border at Pakistan positions in retaliation, while also threatening of consequences that may not be in Pakistan's control. The situation between a Taliban-controlled Afghanistan and nuclear-armed Pakistan remains volatile, with rising incidents of terrorism, raising concerns about the stability of the region and the potential for further escalation in hostilities.
We will take a small break here and be back with more Global South stories on the other side. Keep watching.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibility, teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday 8 p.m. only on DD India.
In a world that never stops, where information shapes our reality, one app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic information.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution.
This series is going to tell stories of such change makers.
Watch Change Makers on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India and this is Voice of the Global South. Let's move on to our next stories. Extreme weather events may become the new normal as the world is now inching towards a total climate catastrophe. The latest warning has come from the United Nations Secretary General, who has called the impact of climate change stark, brutal and accelerating with a deadly force.
Earth is issuing a distress call. The latest State of the Global Climate Report shows a planet on the brink. Fossil fuel pollution is sending climate chaos off the charts. Sirens are blaring across all major indicators. Last year saw record heat, record sea levels and record ocean surface temperatures. Glaciers likely lost more ice than ever before. Some records are just chart-topping, they are chart-busting.
From Latin America to Africa, Middle East to Asia, the impact of climate change is devastating communities almost in every part of the Global South. To understand the magnitude of the climate crisis, let's take you through a map of the world to see the countries that are impacted by the global warming just this year. The countries include India, Bangladesh, China, Sudan, South Sudan, Ethiopia, Democratic Republic of Congo, all of South America, UAE, USA, Australia, United Kingdom, Spain, Italy. And we are just in the third month of this year. In the world's youngest nation, South Sudan, an intense heat wave has forced the government to shut down all the schools for 2 weeks. With temperatures soaring to a scorching 45 degrees Celsius, residents are struggling to find relief as prices of ice and water are now skyrocketing.
Yeah, it is very, very severe. It's affecting learning environment severe because in the class, this time we cannot sit in the class. Children are sweating in the class, teachers also sweating. There's a lot of children in the class, congestion, with the heat.
You can experience in the past, the temperature of Juba was not like this because we had a lot of neem trees because of the war now. Most of them have been chopped down for firewood and charcoals.
Meanwhile, in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, residents are grappling with an unprecedented thermal sensation record of 62.3 degrees Celsius, prompting many to flock to beaches and pools for respite. This extreme temperature is increased by warm northerly winds and proximity to the ocean. The people say that even sleep eludes them due to the scorching heat.
No one even sleeps at night anymore. They stay outside. If you use air conditioning, the energy bill gets high. I can't afford it myself because for now I'm unemployed.
Science has clearly shown that what kills most people in the extreme weather events that are exploding around the world are heat waves, not landslides or floods.
The UAE earlier this month experienced severe weather with heavy rain and thunderstorms hitting part of the country, bringing cities like Dubai to a standstill, causing waterlogging, closure of roads and disruption in transportation, with several flights coming into the city diverted to nearby airports. Now let's take you to Asia. Bangladesh's second largest city, Chittagong, is facing a severe water crisis amid drastic increase in the salinity of its primary water source, the Karnafuli River. Climate change-induced sea level rise has caused the intrusion of salt water upstream from the nearby Bay of Bengal, rendering the water untreatable and undrinkable. So you can imagine a vast population of Chittagong unable to have their primary source of water.
Our main problem is that we have recently only been getting water once every 2 weeks. We are poor people living in the slum to save some money. We neither have gas to cook nor water these days. It is becoming very difficult for us.
The world's two most populous countries, India and China, are both facing climate crisis due to the climate change, where vast number of populations are facing crisis. While Chinese authorities had to evacuate thousands of people affected by forest fires in Sichuan province, India's IT hub, Bangalore, is facing a massive shortage of clean water. But these are not just isolated incidents. According to the World Meteorological Organization, every major global climate record was shattered last year. Average temperature soared to 1.45 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, with ocean temperatures reaching their warmest point in 65 years. Now, as the world braces for the release of State of Global Climate Report 2024, it's essential to recognize the disproportionate impact of climate change on the global south. From Africa to Asia, Middle East to Latin America, communities are bearing the brunt of extreme weather events, exacerbating existing vulnerabilities and pushing societies to the brink. As we confront the realities of a planet in crisis, urgent action is needed to mitigate the effects of climate change and safeguard the most vulnerable amongst us. The time to act is now, before it's too late. If you thought climate change only meant weather chaos, melting ice sheets, droughts, floods and rainfall, you would be mistaken. Climate experts around the world are now linking increasing number of deaths from dengue and similar kind of epidemics to the ongoing climate crisis globally.
Argentina, Brazil and Peru are grappling with the worst dengue fever outbreaks on record. Intensifying climate change marked by monsoon rains, rising temperatures, higher humidity and heat has led to a concerning surge in cases. The number of dengue cases this year has risen alarmingly, with several fatalities. The disease is also called breakbone fever, with symptoms like high fever, headache, vomiting, skin rashes and muscle and joint pain. In Argentina, a major dengue outbreak is set to smash previous records, reflecting broader concerns across South America due to warmer and wetter weather conditions.
We are going through the biggest outbreak of dengue in Argentina. What does the biggest outbreak mean? There are 200% more cases than during the same season last year. This not only happens in Argentina, but in the region as well.
Over 120,000 cases have been reported so far in 23-24, with 79 reported deaths. Peru has declared a health emergency as an outbreak of mosquito-borne diseases became imminent, according to the government.
To tackle dengue and measles, 20 regions of the country will be declared in a health emergency for 90 days due to the dengue issue.
With cases climbing into the thousands and a death toll of 32 this year, Peru faces overwhelming challenges in its hospitals amid higher than usual temperatures driven by the El Niño weather pattern. Brazil, the biggest country in South America, struggles with a mosquito overpopulation crisis, posing a significant hurdle to its vaccination efforts against dengue. Despite concerted efforts, including targeted vaccination plans, the nation faces limitations, receiving only 6 million doses of dengue vaccine per year for the next 5 years.
We have 6 million doses per year for the next 5 years, 50 million doses, and as there are 2 doses for each person, by vaccinating 25 million Brazilians in 5 years, we will only reach 13% of the population. It is insufficient to control the disease or reduce the number of dengue cases in our country.
In 2024 alone, Brazil has reported 1 million dengue fever cases and 299 deaths. Climate change isn't just about melting ice and erratic weather. It's fueling the spread of dreaded dengue virus with a vengeance. From Argentina to Brazil to Peru, record-breaking outbreaks are wreaking havoc due to rising temperatures and unpredictable rainfall.
Gambia, a West African country, is divided over a law that was passed in 2015. The law was to ban FGM, or female genital mutilation, which is recognized internationally as a violation of human rights of girls and women. Now, protests have erupted in the country to roll back the ban, while the lawmakers are debating on repealing the landmark FGM judgment that was to ban this practice across the country.
In an ironic gesture, hundreds of women were seen on the streets of Western African nation Gambia for repealing a ban on the practice of female genital mutilation, or FGM. A repeal bill was presented earlier by the lawmakers, arguing that the ban violates citizens' rights to practice their culture and religion, and if passed, Gambia would become the first country ever to reverse a ban on FGM. Experts claim that reversing the ban on FGM would set a worrisome precedent for the region.
It took almost 10 years to have the first conviction. The first conviction happened last year in 2023. And that set in motion several efforts to reverse that. But instead of reversing that, we should push forward and try to get more conviction. Because, this happened after 8 babies, less than 1 year old, were taken to get female genital mutilation. And the 3 women that were convicted were only fined around $200. So instead of pushing for harsher conviction, that set in motion something to lift the ban. And that essentially would be telling young girls that their rights can be easily chipped away.
The mutilation comprises all procedures that involve partial or total removal of the external female genitalia or other injury to the female genital organs for non-medical reasons. However, the practice of FGM is recognized internationally as a violation of the human rights of girls and women. It is still practiced in about 30 countries in Africa and the Middle East. According to reports, African countries account for 144 million cases of FGM, followed by more than 80 million in Asia and over 6 million in West Asia. The UN has also advocated against the practice, stating that FGM robs girls of autonomy over their own bodies and causes irreversible harm. The recent events in Gambia highlight the complex challenges surrounding similar unscientific practices in the developing and underdeveloped nations of the Global South, especially when viewed as a religious practice, setting a dangerous precedent for basic human rights.
And this is all we have for you in this edition of Voice of the Global South. Let us know your thoughts on the show. You can also connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching our special program. News and updates continue on DD India. Keep watching.